Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is LolaAjisafe here. We are going to be discussing I'm not even gonna give the soundtrack. You know, I'm saying put a ring on it. This is episode 7, excuse my French. Episode 7. And so we're kind of going into but before we start, see, I always forget myself, housekeeping rules. Please don't forget to like the video, keep the likes up, and more importantly, drop a line. Let me know what you're thinking, how you feel about what's going on. How are you feeling with these couples? As we're going to talk, it seems to be almost, I feel like there's a transition point, but you'll let me know. And then of course, last but not the least, please don't forget to subscribe. All right, let's just go straight into it. So pretty much we're at this point where Otis and Charlie were having their date. So it was just to catch up, make up, have a conversation. And right before the last episode had ended, you know, he had sauntered off into the sunset like he was going to have a moment. And then this episode starts up and like he walking right back. It's like, you know what, really? So this, I guess this just kind of resounds for me that, yeah, we know Otis is petty. So I guess the conversation he had with his father may have resonated with him. So maybe he went to the car for a few minutes, or one of the producers told him, "Bro, you don't look good. You need to go back and talk with sis." So either way, he shows up. He's back. He sits down, and he attempts. I shouldn't. That sounds mean. I'm going to say he had an attempt of vulnerability, but it just seemed like it was too acute or too sudden a change. Like 1 minute he was like this, and he comes back and he's like this. It was just so. I was so abrupt. Just a complete about turn that it almost seemed like a different person. I'm like, where's Otis and what have you done with him? Like, I don't know. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it just seemed to be so, I don't know, almost like he had a moment and all of a sudden he realized that all the stuff he's been doing all this time is bad. Looked at her, was apologizing. I dare I say, I think he teared up. Did y'all see him tear? I don't know if this was for the cameras. I don't know. I can't, you know, it's either he was fronting for the cameras up front. So up until now, we were looking at his representative, or he's fronting for the cameras now. But there was something, there's been a switch and there's been a change. I mean, at this point, it looks like it's for the good, but I don't trust anyone as far as I can throw them. So I don't know really what to make of this. All I can report to you guys is there was an abrupt change. And as humans, we don't usually just crack like that and open up and all of a sudden we got it. There's more here, folks, you know, because he was tearing up, he's apologizing, he's sorry. And my mind, as I'm looking at him, like, is this sincere? I don't know. I mean, he goes on to say, you know, he doesn't want to waste this 3 years. It just seemed too much. I mean, either, you know, before this scene, they have creatively edited out any emotional scenes from him. And so now they're letting this in, or something's up. Like I say, when it don't make sense, it means we don't have all the details. We're missing some context here. So I'm assuming the next 4 episodes, because there's 4 episodes left, there'll be some clarity and we'll clear this up. Like, is Otis being himself? Or is he trying to be somebody else for her? But like Dr. Nicole said last week, you want your partner to be themselves, so that that person that you're getting to know and that you're agreeing with is actually who they are. And it's not that after you guys meet and you think, oh, this is a cool person, let's get married, and then you find out that the person was just trying to be who they thought you wanted them to be, but that's not essentially who they are, so they can't stay like that. So getting to the round table for Otis and Charlie, the title of this episode, and of course last week's episode, was Meeting the Family, or Family Matters, to be more precise. You're just meant to correlate, you know, how your relationship with your family affects how you relate with your partner. So of course Otis is now recapping his conversation with his dad, that his dad had kind of explained to him that, you know, how he had developed a method of listening to his now late mother, and how they had like a fruitful, harmonious relationship, and that's what he wants for himself. So he felt like some of the gems that his dad had given him would resonate, you know, were resonating, and he wanted to see how he could actually practice them. When somebody makes a sudden about change and suddenly does a 180 and becomes somebody different, it's healthy to have some skepticism. That's healthy. Some skepticism is healthy. So I'm not saying he's lying, but I'm not saying he's telling the truth too. Like, you know, time will tell. His actions from here on out will tell if this is truly who he's trying to be, whatever it is, we'll see. So we're going to this week's dates. This week only Charlie had gone on a date. She went on a date with the chap called Chris, aka Odell Beckham Jr. And she talked about him like, yeah, he was intelligent, he was smart, he went to Stanford, he was a ball player, like, so he looked kind of cute. He's open and honest. I'm like, sis, nah, G for the streets, like, scratch him out right now. But the joke is here, like what I of note here is that as she was talking and talking about how he was well built because of a football player, for the first time, and this episode 7, I finally see a playful chemistry between her and Otis. And I'm like, oh, okay, first sign. You know, they're laughing, they're smiling, and she's cracking jokes. Even though she's saying something that probably would have pissed him off last week, you know, they're laughing about it this week. So there's been some kind of switch. Now, is this, you know, switch permanent? Or is it just going to be for the meantime? Dr. Nicole comes up and says, you know what, would you like another date with Chris? Which is typically what they do. So she's had one date. Would you like a second date? Of course, we know when they do this second date stuff, you know, the other partner is always kind of hurt because then there's a possibility you could be forming a relationship with this person. And all of a sudden, like, you know, they leave us on a cliffhanger. So we're going to find out next week. Because she says something about, well, I thought I knew what I wanted to do when I got here, but I've changed my, like, don't stop wasting my time. Like, are you going or not? Yes or no? It's really that simple. But anyway, so we now have to wait till next week to find out. So we're going to talk about the next couple, Kenneth and Shorty. Now, we have said that this is the most troubled couple. Kenneth meeting up with his brother Tori. So something here is displayed that apparently when they have beef, Shorty calls his mother. And let me repeat, anytime they have beef or any trouble, any strife, any challenges, any disagreements, any fights, Shorty calls Kenneth's mother. Like, sis, if he's all those things you said he is, why are you calling the guy's mother? And what do you expect to achieve by calling the guy's mother? I'm not a proponent of that at all. It's okay to have a relationship with the guy, being that it looks like you guys live together, so it's okay to have a relationship with the guy's mother. But to be calling his mother about every disagreement you have is, I won't call it immature, but I want to call it immature. Because you can handle him yourself. You literally cut him down like with a knife. So why are you calling his mother? To just badmouth him to his mother? I don't agree with that style. I don't. And you know, Shorty sits down, meets up with her mom. They go, you know, they talk over the traditional tea. You know, she makes tea for her to spill tea with her words exactly. And her mother is just, you know, a gentle, wise woman, just, you know, talking very gently. You know what? He does seem a little bit immature. She's noticed some things that, you know, she talked about some deadlines that maybe Shorty had given him for them to buy a house. That's neither here nor there. That's, you know, popular. Can be a common issue amongst couples where one person is more financially stable than the other. But, you know, the question now is, you know, what's that question now is, you know, Ken's maturity. So the mother is concerned that is he mature enough to, you know, have a sustainable relationship. So the mother asked her a key question that, you know, what do you like about Kenneth? Because the truth is, we're saying that he's immature. We're saying that he's not financially stable. We're saying all these things. Why are we here? Like, what's keeping you here? If he's not this, he's not this, he's not this, why are you here? What you see in him? Sure, you talk about, yeah, like every time she wants to give up, he don't want to give up on the relationship. That's not a reason to be with him. And it's just because he won't give up on the relationship. So what you're saying is he takes your BS, so you just want to stay there because somebody else is not going to take your BS. So now you're stunting your growth and stunting his growth because you don't want to grow. Every week we find something out that I don't agree with, because that's what it is. Sis, embrace growth. You know, change. The only thing that's inevitable is change. Everything else, like, the one thing that you can guarantee on is change. If you don't change, things around you are going to change, which is going to make you change. This situation has now created a point where you need to change. Something has to be done. So next we'll talk about, you know, Shorty's second date with Tabby. They meet up at a coffee shop. And so as she's, you know, excited, I'm asking myself, it really looks like she came on this show to try and get rid of Kenneth because she's had no success in the past trying to shake him off. So is she excited about Tabby because she truly, sincerely likes him? Or is he just is he a way for her out? They get talking, you know, he seems to be saying all the right things and she seems enamored that he's this, he's that, he's smart, he's hitting all the balls out the park. And then they focus on he has a neck tattoo. The name is his daughter. He kind of breaks down why he did it, because he was trying to avoid signing up, and of course in the military, any tattoos above the collar, from what I understand, it automatically disqualifies you, because he knew he didn't want to sign up and go to the army or to go into the military. I don't know which arm. He didn't mention which arm. Something that Shorty said here was, I don't want to judge her because, you know, Some people like spicy wings, some people like barbecue wings, some people like lemon pepper wings. You know, they're all wings, you just have a different preference for it. But I don't know, like, you know, why someone of her, you know, a woman of a particular age is getting all, you know, giddy by a neck tattoo. Like, you getting giddy because what's that, a sign of being a like, I don't know what the correlation is, but she was real giddy. She's like, oh, that's so sick. I don't know what to do with that. So I'm going to put it out there because I was looking like, what, you getting giddy because he has a neck tattoo? Like, what does that do with it? Yeah, I don't know. I know we all have our preferences, but please explain it to me. You know, yeah, because I don't know what to do with that information, because she was real giddy and she let him know. And then after that, it would almost seem like she was doing the pursuing and he was being pursued. And what I mean by that is, usually, you know, because she's meant to be in the position, I don't want to use the term position of power, but she's in a position where she's the one doing the choosing, because she's in a, you know, she already has a partner already, so now he's just waiting to be chosen. But it's almost like she has changed places with him and wants to be chosen by him, but she's meant to be doing the choosing. Does that make sense? Do you see what I'm saying? During this coffee date, it almost seemed that, you know, Tavi had more power, because she seemed really eager, talking about, yeah, you know, if I get this third date with you, you have to ride for me because I'm going to have trouble with my dude. I know that, you know, Shorty says that there is an element of immaturity with Kenneth. Like, I can see the reason why she's with him, because there's an element of immaturity with her. Because I think at this point, you know, she needs to be more, she has some growing up to do. She needs to be more decisive, because she just seems to be like this. Like, if you're swayed by a neck tattoo, sis, like, you got some work to do. Your problem is not Kenneth. If you know a neck tattoo is having you all giddy, making you forget what's important to you, then you have work to do. Your problem is not Kenneth. That's how I'm going to end with that. So the girls get together, which is another unusual gathering. They don't usually get together. And all I can get from this, just two things. These two women are gorgeous. I'll give them that. And secondly, Charlie simply confirmed what we already suspected. I think we talked about, you know, a few videos past, that the reason why he even disclosed having a conversation or possibly DMing Milan was just as retaliation, retribution, because now he was mad about the first date. So that's at least that's what she's telling us. And I do suspect he was being petty about something, but I wasn't sure what it was. So she's saying it was that based on the first date when she got flowers, you know, he had set out to one-up her. And so he did. So we get to the roundtable discussion for Kenneth and Shorty. And so they meant to recap the private or personal date they had, the one-on-one date they had with each other. And of course, like we remember last week, you know, Shorty was more keen on breaking down the issues between them, you know, tackling the issues head on. Whereas, you know, Kenneth wanted to keep his head in the clouds or keep his head buried. He just wanted to have a romantic date and remember the good times. They have different principles. They have different MOs. I'm not sure how they got this far. I think what I'm observing, one thing they do have in common is immaturity. What she accused him of being is what she is exactly. So at this point, shortly after that, you know, Dr. Nicole kind of decides to table the discussion, promising them a one-on-one. Dr. Nicole, if anybody need a one-on-one, it's these two. Yeah, one-on-one with, you know, Uncle, what's his name, Rick Ross and Shay. Like, this should be your next target. Anyway, Shorty goes on to break down her date with Tavi, you know, that they have similar expectations, they have all these great things. I'm thinking, like, sis, he knew. Like, of course it's gonna be a great conversation. She was talking about how, yeah, she can see how she's being a great listener, she's being a better person with, you know, Tavi. Sis, he knew. Like, something fresh and exciting. Of course, fresh and exciting, you're going to be different. When Dr. Nicole turns the tables and asks Kenneth, what does he think about what she's saying about Tavi? Kenneth rightfully says, like, yeah, this is new. Like, you felt like that about me. Boom. I give him that. He has some insight into who she is. His acceptance of her is rooted in his insecurities too. He has some deep-seated insecurities which allow him to take treatment that he doesn't deserve. No matter how bad you are, I don't think you deserve to be spoken to a certain way. So, you know, the age-old question, you ready to go for another date? So this will now be a third date with Tavi. Sis say yes. Like I said, she's here to free herself. So she's looking for anything to send a message to him. And it looked like when, you know, of course up front when she asked Kenneth, when Dr. Nicole asked Kenneth, oh, you know, what do you think about this third date? He's like, yeah, whatever. You know, he was just playing it off, because he had a look like, when she said yes to the third date, like he didn't expect it. I'm not sure why he's surprised. Kenneth, can you see she doesn't want you? Like, I'm confused. Well, I shouldn't be confused because this is episode 7. They've been playing this. Kenneth, she doesn't want you. She's making do because you're accepting her and her nonsense. If she found somebody else who's able or would be willing to take her and her nonsense, she'd be already at the door with her bags packed, or she would have your bags packed, sitting at the door. So next couple, or the last couple for this evening, we have Alfie and Shay. So finally, you know, they sit down and she tries to rehash the family dynamics issue she has with him, or the lack of an identity with his mother. And I guess based on her conversation with her mother and her aunt, who says, you know what, if you need to cut him loose, she's now facing him and says, you know what, if you don't show and prove, I'm out of here. Sis, that's what you should have done since. I guess. So I guess she was right. She really did need their permission. I'm not sure why, but she really did. And so it now, you know, dawns on him that in his confessional, that she could possibly leave him. Like, ooh, he can't imagine it. He can't imagine living without her. Like, he doesn't want to lose her. Or really, after 3 years of mistreating her, now you don't want to lose her? Look, a few things here. When you're in a relationship, be clear that the treatment you're receiving or getting from the other person, and it's happening without any recourse. So if someone's treating you a certain way and it's consistent, that means you gave them permission to do it. Now, if somebody does something to you the first time and you set them straight, then you've terminated it. Because we really do teach people how to treat us. So he's constantly been doing all what he's been doing, being real careless with the ladies because you never put your foot down. And even when you put your foot down, your foot wasn't properly on the ground. You didn't say it with, you know, with your chest. You weren't, you know, you did it out of fear. And any kind of threats you made, you didn't back them up. Because it looks like she gave him an ultimatum now. She says, you know what, if they don't show and prove, I'm out of here. Good. But the problem here is with ultimatums, be very clear that you are ready to carry out the threat or the ultimatum you've given. If you say, if you do this, if you don't stop doing this, I'm out of here. Sis, if he don't stop doing this, be out of there. And when you say that and when you make that decision to have that conversation, be clear that that's what you're meant to do, because there's a certain lesson in giving that ultimatum itself. One, if you give that ultimatum properly without fear and just like, you know, like, because they can, you know, after a while you've been with someone, they can tell when you're faking it. You give that ultimatum and you're serious. That means you are willing to leave it all. You're ready to risk it all and drop it, even if you want to be there. If they're not ready to meet what your minimum is, be ready to drop. Because what you'll find out, you'll find an inner strength within yourself, one, and then two, that other person will see that strength in you and begin to start thinking. So immediately, for the first time, it looks like Alfie saw that, snap, she for real, she ready to leave me, and now he want to fix up shop. He calls Dr. Nicole. Dr. Nicole shows up. They get to the table of truth, not exactly the red table. He got a table of truth, and they start talking, and they kind of break down his, you know, relationship dynamics. You know, so what we kind of tease out here is that, you know, his prior relationship, his baby mother, he hadn't quite had like a clean break with her. It had just been, you know, he just wanted to, you know, to dwindle away and fizzle away, back door open. And everybody who practiced the dark arts knows that, you know, you always keep the back door open. So he kept the back door open. And so Dr. Nicole let him know that, you know, you don't keep the back door open. You're not hurting her feelings by cutting her off. What you're going to do is, you know, you're going to tell her what she's gaining or what she's losing. So yeah, you know, how she put it, like, you may not, I know, we're not being in a relationship, but we have more to gain. We've got this. We can make a richer relation. This, all these things, because apparently it looked like, because he didn't break up with his baby mother officially, she was just waiting for him to tire of Shay and then come back to her. And that's what the mother was waiting for too. So the two of them in cahoots, waiting for him to tire of her, so then he can come back to home. Yeah, it looked like, you know, Shay, for the first time, finally in episode 7, she's got her big girl panties on. And she also, I'd love to see her next week actually seeing the result of her standing up and speaking up for herself. If you don't speak up for yourself, nobody's going to speak up for you. Nobody's going to give you the respect you need. Because like I said, we are self-serving. We think of self first. So nobody is a better advocate for you than you are. So if you don't speak up for yourself, people are just going to ride over you. Even though they know it's wrong, they're going to keep doing it. Because it's easier for them to do that than to think about you. And what's funny is that with this one move that Shay has made, standing up for herself and speaking clearly with the intent of following through. It's like she's completely changed the whole energy of the relationship. All of a sudden, in episode 7, Rick Ross Jr. talk about she's the one. We didn't hear that before, did we? We heard him telling her that she needed to make do, that even if he had a little, dilly-dally over here or there, that she should take it. Like, he was so, casual and nonchalant about what she was crying about, that we thought that, so we knew for a fact, the fact that he lived with her, we knew he cared. I did say that, but still, the fact that she didn't demand respect and didn't make demands of what she wanted allowed him to run amok. And so finally, episode 7, weeks later, talk about, oh, she's the one. If there's no lesson, I don't know what is. Speak up for yourself. If you have to make an ultimatum, make the ultimatum, but be very, very clear that if he doesn't meet those demands, follow through on what you said you were going to follow through on, or nothing else will work. So they have their roundtable discussion, and she gets to recap, her meeting with her mother and her aunt, and how that kind of busted her to sit down and have a conversation with, Rick Ross. Now that she stepped into herself, just look at how the power shift has occurred. There's been a coup. There's been a change of government. This might be a democracy now. It's no longer like a dictatorship, because I feel like she was living in a dictatorship. She was living according to his terms, and he and Dr. Nicole is now telling them that, okay, you're not just going to say, oh, we're going to do something different. Sit down and come up with terms that you can both agree with and that you can both live with. Boom. And here we are. We're at the end of this episode, guys. But let's see how it's like. It looked like she's taking back her life, because we've been saying. But finally, episode 7 looked like Shay listening, and she woke up. And it appears that her wake-up call was that sit down with her mother and her aunt, because she sat and she didn't come out like rah 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 like she's been doing. Did you see how effective it was? She didn't do all that she was doing with the day, talking, fighting people, fighting this one, fighting that. No, she sat down, and throughout the whole conversation she was calm. But our guy stood up and was shook. He was shook enough to get Dr. Nicole to come and talk with him, because he worried about he about to lose the love of his life. I don't know if that's not a good example. I don't know what is. It's not. You don't have to make noise, but you need to be clear. I'm very determined about what you're saying. Say what you mean and mean what you say. And he heard in her voice that she was serious about what she was saying. And he got off that couch. Like, she got off the couch and he was on the couch all shook. Just see how that switch happened. So I think that's a lesson right there. But guys, we're at the end of the episode. Don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe. Thanks for watching the video, Lola. Over and out.